Hi, colleagues. We'll get started. You can just take your seats, make yourselves comfortable. Delegates, colleagues, friends, welcome to the 20th workshop on the facilitative sharing of views, convened under the International Consultation and Analysis process under the Convention. The FSV has served as a vital space for open exchange, peer learning and constructive dialogue since its inception. Today's session continues that tradition. It offers parties a dedicated forum to present their national climate efforts and engage in substantive, non-intrusive dialogue with the international community. This afternoon, 3 parties, Ecuador, Niger, Seychelles, will present their biennial update reports and engage in a structured question and answer exchange with fellow delegates. I extend my congratulations to the presenting parties. The work involved in preparing national reports, undergoing technical analysis, and engaging in this multilateral dialogue reflects a genuine commitment to the transparency process, and we understand the work this takes at home from domestic experts. That commitment matters both for the integrity of the system and for the trust it builds among parties. Building trust here in Bonn at SP64 lays the right foundation for finding party-driven consensus outcomes at COP31 in Antalya. Transparency is foundational to everything we are trying to achieve under the Convention and the Paris Agreement. We cannot raise ambition without honest accountability, and we cannot build trust without open dialogue. For that, the FSV serves as a critical milestone. It reinforces the necessary capacity and experience to successfully transition to or continue implementation of the enhanced transparency framework. The data generated through processes like this one also inform NDC ambition, supports the global stocktake, and helps direct finance and support where it is most needed. I encourage all delegates to engage actively and constructively. Your questions and reflections give this process depth and meaning. Before we proceed to the presentations, I have the pleasure of inviting Zhuhong Wang, UNFCCC Director of Transparency, to deliver her welcoming remarks. Zhuhong, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Distinguished delegates, esteemed colleagues, it is a great pleasure to join you for the 20th workshop on the facilitative sharing of views held here at SP64 in Bonn. The FSV remains a cornerstone of our multilateral transparency work under the Convention. Since its establishment, it has provided developing country parties a structured, supportive forum to share their climate actions, engage constructively with peers, and build the institutional capacity that underpins credible reporting. Its role as a bridge to the enhanced transparency framework makes it more important than ever. We are now firmly in an era of implementation, and the enhanced transparency framework is fully operational. To date, 133 annual transparency reports have been submitted, 82 technical expert reviews were conducted, and 29 more reviews are scheduled for the second half of the year. The FMCP has been launched, and the first BTR synthesis report has given us a shared evidence-based picture of where the world stands on NDC implementation. In this context, the FSV is not simply a legacy process. It is an active contributor to that broader journey. The lessons learned here and the conversations held at this table inform how parties approach their transparency obligations under the Paris Agreement. The FSV continues to demonstrate that transparency is beyond compliance. It is about shared learning, peer trust, and continuous improvement. At this session, we will hear from parties presenting their biannual update reports and engaging in open dialogues with their peers. I encourage all participants to engage actively and to approach this exchange in the spirit of constructive, non-intrusive, and respectful dialogue that is always characterized this process. I would also note that the third FMCP working group session is running alongside this FSV during SB 64. Together, these two events represent the full arc of our transparency work, from the Convention's reporting framework to the Paris Agreement's enhanced system. They are complementary, and the insights generated in both will inform the path ahead. I thank the presenting parties for their commitment in preparing for today's session, and I look forward to a productive and substantive exchange. So now I hand the floor back to the chair. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yuhong, for those remarks and for the forward-looking perspective you shared. I'd also like to extend my gratitude to the SBI Vice Chair, Ayad Al-Jubran, for agreeing to chair this FSV workshop. Ayad, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Delegates and colleagues, before we begin, we wish to make some introductory remarks on the general context and framing of our discussions. In line with the UNFCCC Code of Conduct, we remind you and ourselves to play a role in maintaining a respectful atmosphere. I will intervene if we sense a compromise of someone's dignity or when the conversation takes an unconstructive turn or disrespectful tone. Please also remember that the Code of Conduct applies to all participants, both inside and outside meeting rooms. If you witness or experience any incident, you can make a complaint to speak up at unfccc.int or a UNDSS security officer. Please let me also go through a few formalities. To request the floor, I kindly request parties to raise your flag. I'll give you the floor by referring to the party name. Once your party name is called, please push the microphone button to intervene. After taking the floor, please press the speaker button again and lower your flag. There are delegates and experts from parties undergoing FSV connected virtually who may intervene during the workshop. For delegates, please raise your hand in the MS Teams should you wish to intervene. And for expert, please intervene when you are instructed to do so by your national delegate. The FSV session will be broadcasted live, and the recording will be made available on the respective FSV webpage after the session. Moreover, parties will be able to follow the proceeding remotely through the webcast. To ensure effective time management of this session, and taking into account the limited time available, parties under FSV have prepared pre-recorded presentations that have been posted in the FSV website prior to this session. Today, each party undergoing FSV will be asked to deliver a short statement, followed by broadcast of their pre-recorded presentation. Finally, there will be a question and answer session. I will take a block questions from several parties at once, and then ask the party undergoing FSV to respond to these questions before moving on the next round of questions. Each party undergoing FSV will be allocated 30 minutes on average. In the event that the party undergoing FSV receives no or few questions, the time allocated to that party can be shortened. Upon completion of the question and answer session for one party, the next party will be invited to begin its presentation. I will give the floor to parties undergoing FSV as outlined in the schedule of the FSV webpage. And with that, we will move to open the session or start the session. And I would like to invite Ecuador to make a short statement. It will be delivered by Ms. Irina Barba, Director of Environment and Sustainable Development, Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ecuador. Ms. Barba, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. Ecuador has the honor to present the main progress reported in the fourth national communication and the second biennial update report corresponding to the period 2016-2020. As a mega-diverse country that has four natural regions and an extraordinary ecological wealth, Ecuador faces significant challenges during the reported period, the most relevant being the social and economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. Despite this adverse context, the country maintained a firm commitment to climate action and the conservation of its natural heritage. One of the main achievements was the consolidation of a solid institutional framework that strengthened coordination among different sectors and levels of government for the preparation of national reports. Likewise, the foundations of the measurement, reporting, and verification system were strengthening, laying the background for the development of the current National Climate Change Registry, a fundamental tool for information management and climate transparency in the country. Regarding emissions, Ecuador reported a total of 75,327 GG of CO2 equivalent in its 2018 national greenhouse gas inventory, with the energy sector being the main emitter accounting for 51% of the total. Between 2016 and 2020, Ecuador implemented 75 voluntary mitigation actions in the energy, agricultural, land use, industrial processes, and waste sectors. These initiatives contributed to both reducing emissions and maintaining and increasing carbon sinks, with notable progress in renewable energy, energy efficiency, forest conservation, and the implementation of REDD+ measures and actions. Ecuador continues to move toward implementing the enhanced transparency framework. However, it still faces significant challenges in financing, capacity building, and technology transfer to meet its climate goals and advance the implementation of its second national determined contribution. We thank the parties and the Secretariat of the Convention for this important space and exchange of learning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ecuador. I would now like to invite the Secretariat to broadcast the pre-recorded presentation from Ecuador, which will be delivered by Mr. Christian Andres Goyes, a specialist in the Directorate of Mitigation, Ministry of Environment and Energy of Ecuador. Secretariat, please play the video.
Ecuador is honored to present at this important UNFCCC forum the progress made in addressing climate change, as reported in its fourth national communication and second biennial update report covering the period 2016-2020. My name is Andres Goyes, and I have the privilege of representing Ecuador's Ministry of Environment and Energy. Our agenda is structured around 5 main topics. We will begin with a brief presentation of the national context to provide an overview of the circumstances and conditions during the reporting period. Next, we will present the results of the National Greenhouse Gas Inventory. Third, we will discuss the mitigation actions implemented and the impacts resulting from their implementation. We will then present information on the support received and the support needed to strengthen national capacities. Finally, we will highlight the progress and actions undertaken to facilitate the transition to the enhanced transparency framework in preparation for meeting our future international commitments. Ecuador is a megadiverse country located in the northwestern region of South America. Its territory is divided into 4 natural regions: the coast, the highlands, the Amazon, and the insular region, resulting in an extraordinary diversity of ecosystems, climates, and natural resources. To understand the national circumstances that influence greenhouse gas emissions and the country's response capacity, it is important to note that in 2020, Ecuador had a population of approximately 17.5 million inhabitants, of which 64% lived in urban areas. In addition, the country reported a gross domestic product of more than $66.3 billion and an economically active population of 8.1 million people. The national economy was severely affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, which caused macroeconomic losses exceeding $16.3 billion in just 10 months. Despite these challenges and persistent social gaps, Ecuador has maintained its commitment to conserving its natural heritage, protecting 13.4% of its national territory through the National System of Protected Areas and Protective Forests. This context reinforces the need to promote climate action that integrates mitigation, adaptation, and sustainable development, with particular attention to rural and indigenous communities, which are especially vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. The preparation of Ecuador's fourth National Communication 4NC and second Biennial Update Report 2BUR was supported by a multi-level institutional framework that strengthened coordination among the entities um, responsible for climate change management. This framework included the political level, led by the Interinstitutional Climate Change Committee, a technical political level responsible for the strategic oversight and validation of the process, and a technical operational level in charge of data generation, report preparation, and coordination with the various participating sectors and institutions. Through this governance structure, Ecuador successfully developed its national greenhouse gas inventory in a coordinated manner, conducted consultation and validation processes with key stakeholders, and consolidated the technical outputs required under the UNFCCC. The process began in 2018 and concluded with the official submission of the 4NC and 2BUR in December 2022, strengthening transparency and climate action reporting at the national level. During the reporting period of the second BUR, Ecuador developed a conceptual framework for monitoring, reporting, and verification (MRV), divided into three essential pillars. First, the mitigation component, comprised of the National Greenhouse Gas Inventory System along with the monitoring systems for REDD Plus and the Nationally Appropriate Mitigation Actions (NAMAs). Second, the adaptation component focused on monitoring climate impacts and risks and specific vulnerability indicators by sector. And third, the monitoring of means of implementation (MOI), which includes climate finance, technology transfer, and capacity building. This entire structure laid the groundwork for the development of the National Climate Change Registry, which is the current platform of key information for implementing climate transparency in Ecuador. This slide shows Ecuador's greenhouse gas inventory for 2018. I will explain the main numbers and what they mean for action. The national total for 2018 is 75,327 GGCO2 EQ. The largest sector is energy, with 51% of emissions. LULUCF is 21.6% and agriculture is 20.8%. Waste is 3.4% and industrial process product use is 3.2%. Energy emissions come mainly from burning fossil fuels and from transport. Fossil fuel combustion and transport are the primary drivers in this sector. Land use and agriculture together are a large share of the inventory. Land use management is a critical lever for mitigation. On the other hand, the industrial processes, IPPU, and waste sectors have a smaller share, totaling only 6.6%, concentrated mainly in the cement industry and municipal solid waste disposal being the largest drivers. In short, the inventory shows that energy and land use are the most important areas for action. On this slide, we show emissions over time from 1994 to 2018. I will point out the biggest change and the reasons behind it. Total emissions in 2018 are lower than in 1994. Overall emissions fell by 21% between 1994 and 2018. This is the net result of several national changes in energy, land use, agriculture, and industry. A key driver is the Coca-Cola Sinclair hydroelectric plant, which started operating in 2016 and increased clean electricity supply. Also, after the April 2016 earthquake, energy consumption on the coast dropped, which reduced emissions from fuel use and power generation. Forests increased their carbon sequestration, and emissions from agricultural land decreased. Lower crop production and reduced use of synthetic fertilizers helped lower agricultural emissions. These changes in land use and farming practices contributed significantly to the overall decline. Industry also improved. Some industrial transformation processes became more efficient, which reduced emissions from manufacturing. Together with changes in agriculture and energy, this helped lower the national total. In short, the 21% decline is due to cleaner electricity, lower energy use after the 2016 earthquake, more carbon uptake by forests, and better industry and farming practices. This slide shows the mitigation actions and their effects implemented in Ecuador from 2016 to 2020. I will explain the number of actions and the 5 sectors they cover. Ecuador implemented 75 voluntary actions and initiatives during 2016-2020. These actions cover 5 sectors: energy, industrial processes and product use, IPPU, agriculture, land use change and forestry, LULUC, and waste. I will briefly describe each sector and why the actions matter. Actions focus on the energy sector. These include cleaner electricity generation, improvements in transport, and several NAMAs that support low carbon development. The energy NAMAs include actions such as renewable energy projects, energy efficiency programs, and cleaner public transport initiatives. In the industrial processes and product use sector, actions target industries such as cement production and refrigerant gases. Measures include reducing the clinker factor and destroying ozone depleting substances. Actions in agriculture aim to improve farming and livestock practices. Examples are better soil management, reduced fertilizer use, and the adoption of sustainable livestock practices. LULUF covers land use change, and forestry. Many actions protect and restore forests, which increases carbon sequestration and reduces net emissions. Strengthening programs such as Sociobosk and Advancing Red Plus plans are key parts of this effort. Actions in waste focus on improved solid waste management and recycling. Reducing landfill emissions and improving waste treatment lowers methane and other greenhouse gases. Together, these 75 mitigation actions show a strong national effort. They reduce emissions at the source and increase carbon removals through better land and forest management. During the reporting period, Ecuador received a total of $2.4 billion for climate change actions. Most of this funding, about 79%, came from credit sources. Looking at the yearly trend, climate finance increased from around $414 million in 2016 to a peak of $744 million in 2018, making 2018 the year with the highest financing received. After that, funding decreased to $500 million in 2019 and $327 million in 2020. Regarding the use of these resources, 62% was invested in mitigation activities, which focus on reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Only 12% was allocated to adaptation measures. The remaining 26% supported projects that combine both mitigation and adaptation goals. Ecuador needs strong support. A key part of this support is capacity building, which includes a learning platform, a knowledge management model, and experience exchange activities. These efforts involve MATE, sectoral entities, local governments, the CICC, and academic institutions. The country also needs technology transfer, such as modern digital tools and better information systems, RNCC, and financial support to ensure continuous reporting and long term improvements. Ecuador's financing needs are significant. The country requires $3.6 billion in the short term over the next 3 to 5 years to implement its first nationally determined contribution. In the previous 5 years, Ecuador received $2.4 billion, leaving a financing gap of more than $1.2 billion. And this is only the short term need. Long term NDC implementation will require even larger and sustained investment. At the moment, Ecuador is organizing its national system to meet the requirements of the Enhanced Transparency Framework. At the center is the National Climate Change Registry, the RNCC, which integrates all information on mitigation, adaptation, and loss and damage. The RNCC also has a public website, a national repository, and complementary information systems. 2 additional modules support reporting and verification. The reporting module, which feeds into the BTR, and the verification module, which ensures compliance with the MPGs. Finally, the slide highlights recent progress. Ecuador submitted its first BTR in December 2024, and new ministerial agreements formalized the technical standards for the RNCC and for the authorization and traceability of mitigation results. This concludes the presentation. Thank you very much.
Now, I would like to open the floor for questions from parties. I will collect a number of questions from parties before inviting the delegate from Ecuador to respond. To ensure effective time management of this session, please be brief with your questions and answers. The floor is open. Now, would like to give the floor to Sweden. Sweden, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Queremos felicitar al Ecuador por la presentación de su Biennial Update Report. We noted with interest that the vision of Buen Vivir appears to play an important role in Ecuador's broader policy approach, including areas of relevant to mitigation. So we were wondering if you could share one or two examples of how this vision has influenced the design and implementation of climate actions in practice. Thank you.
Thank you, Sweden. Now I would like to give the floor to the UK. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Ecuador, for your presentation and opening remarks. Can you please share how you prepared for the transition to reporting under the ETF, and what successes and challenges did you face? Thank you.
Thank you to the UK, and now we'll give the floor to Australia. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the Secretariat for supporting this event. Recognising the importance of energy efficiency in supporting the energy transition, are you able to share some of the lessons you have learned from delivering your energy efficiency activities and measures, including any which may be useful for other countries as they advance their own national activities in this space?
Thank you, Australia. I will collect maybe 2 more questions at this point, and then we'll go back to Ecuador. So I have next Malawi. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Ecuador, for the presentation, and also congratulations for the good work you've done in submitting your BUR and for undergoing the this process. So I have 2 questions. The first one is on what regulatory frameworks were in place to support your work in terms of data collection and the likes, in case there are some good practices and lessons you can learn in terms of how did you strengthen your institutional arrangements through some regulatory frameworks. The second one extends to, I think, the UK's comment in terms of the transitioning. I would like also to be interested to know, apart from the challenges you foresee and also experiences, but also what extra support do you think you require to successfully transition from the current reports which you submitted to the Enhanced Transparency Framework? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Malawi. And now I'd like to give the floor to the Netherlands. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, and congratulations, Ecuador, with your second BUR. Also noticed you submitted your BTR and also up for FMCP, so you must be really busy. I have a question on the transport sector. You report that more than half of the emissions from the energy sector results from transport. Could you elaborate on the strategy Ecuador has in reducing those emissions and what barriers or challenges you face in doing so? Thank you.
Thank you very much, the Netherlands. I will now go back, maybe give Ecuador, if you'd like, maybe a couple of minutes to prepare, and just let me know if you're ready to attend to the questions that we just heard from the parties. Ready? Please, back to Ecuador, back to you.
Thank you so much for all your kind questions. There have been a lot, and maybe I didn't catch some of them, but we can start because I am back by my team in my country, back in the capital. So we can start with the Sweden's answer. I would like to give the floor to my colleague, Paul, who can maybe answer that question. Thank you so much. Paul, ¿me escuchan?
We'll check just for a second. We'll check with the IT. We'll make sure that he's muted at the moment. So Powell, if possibly, remove the mute and try to come again.
Good morning.
We hear you clearly. Good morning.
Okay. Good morning and good afternoon then. Thank you, Vice Chair, for giving me the floor, and thank you for the delegates for all questions. For the question of Sweden, I would like to express that Ecuador is working on the different, in the 5 priority sectors in mitigation. And 2 examples to express about Buen Vivir. It's about the transition that is working in Ecuador about power generation and electricity generation here in Ecuador. We are trying to change our energy mix. Now we are having a lot of megawatts of generation from renewable energy. Most of the hydroelectric plants, as we mentioned in the second BUR, Ecuador integrates 15 hydroelectric plants in our energy mix. That's one example. And also another example is in that in the period of the report of the second BUR, Ecuador achieved the 4 phases of the RED Plus plan. So the 2 sectors that are important in Ecuador, energy and LULUCF, were the most actions that we implemented to get the Buen Vivir in Ecuador. Thank you.
Thank you so much. The second question, I am sorry, I don't remember who asked it. It was institutional arrangements, I think. Switzerland, maybe? I am wrong. Please correct
the
me.
UK.
UK, sorry. Thank you so much. Thank you for your question. I would like to give the floor to my colleague, Rosana, please.
Thank you, Irina. I don't know if you can hear me.
Sí.
Yes? Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, distinguished delegates. Thank you, Vice Chair, for this space, and also the delegations from UK and Malawi that are the questions that I am answering today. And it's regarding the first one regarding that UK formulate regarding the transition to the ETF. For Ecuador, it was a big deal, actually, having this transition, and it involves a very strong commitment of the country for a very strong process. This includes the data collection, the institutional arrangements, and also that involve the normative or formulation of new policy. I think I'm going to try to formulate my answer, including the question that Malawi made regarding the data collection. And at the end, I'm going to leave the question of Malawi regarding to the extra support that we need to for the implementation of the ETF. For the data collection and to ensure the information that the climate change report requires, Ecuador formulates a couple of normatives that strengthen the policy. One of them was among our climate change interinstitutional committee. in this committee, we were able, that contains most of the public institutional, we were able to give the responsibilities and roles for all the information providers. And it was a very good resolution that support actually all the process. In this resolution, also, we were able to give the responsibility as a climate transparency authority to the Minister of Environment and Energy for holding all this process. And besides this resolution, Ecuador was able to formulate another institutional arrangement that was a technical normative that that gives to the information providers all the information that we require, that is based on the MPG information, and what are the needs of this database of information. I'm sorry. And then with this, we also have this arrangement with all the data providers regarding how is going to be the information, how are we going to get the information. The transition was very important because by now we already have our transparency system in Ecuador that it was reported actually in the communication that now we are sharing, that and in this climate change register that is known in Ecuador, we were able to give all the guidelines to the data providers regarding to the ETF. And and all the information, actually, we already have it in our website that is open to everyone regarding what variables do they need to provide and when. Also, I would like to talk about the extra support that we need to ensure this transition. Now, Ecuador, as I mentioned, has its national climate transparency system, but is not, we need more work to do in this process. We are trying to include among this system the mechanism, the Article 6, and also loss and damage that is very important for Ecuador, and try to strengthen the model of mitigation. So the support regarding the finance support is very important. We need to keep the finance for climate transparency in two ways now. The first, that Ecuador keeps the support for generate the reports. In the other part, Ecuador needs support to strengthen the transparency process. So I think I cover all the questions, and thank you for your questions, distinguished delegates. Back to you, Irina.
Gracias, Rosana. To respond the question of Australia and Netherlands, I would like to give the floor to Ricardo Charbet. Thank you so much, Ricardo.
Good morning, everybody. Do you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead, please.
Do you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody in Bonn, and good morning to my colleagues here in Ecuador. I'm going to respond to the question raised by Australia and by Netherlands. Have some similarities. So first, the energy efficiency politics. Ecuador in 2017 promoted a national plan for energy efficiency. So this plan tried to improve the use of fossil fuels in transportation mainly. This plan also derivates in a national energy efficiency committee that set the rules and set the regulations in order to promote energy efficiency in transportation mainly. From this national plan of energy efficiency, we have in 2023, Quito, the capital of Ecuador, implements the metro, electric mobility alternative. The metro runs from south to north of the city, and now the metro is going to even making an extension to even go more northern of the city. Also, the city of Cuenca implements the tranvía system in order to replace diesel buses. Also, we have a plan in order to replace diesel buses to electric buses, mainly in urban transportation. We have a electric pilot bus running in Quito. And last but not least, Ministry of Transport promotes a policy to encourage active transportation. That means promote walking, use of bicycle. And I think that's it. I'm open for receive like acceleration or more questions. Do you have it?
Maybe if you have a following up question about this energy sector strategy, you can post to my colleague Ricardo right now if Netherlands and Australia has any further question. But he referred to the changes in transport in Quito and Cuenca mainly, which we started with more sustainable transport with the building of and construction of subways system in Quito and other kind of transportation, sustainable transportation in the Cuenca, which is the third main city in our country. Quito is the capital, actually. That would be if there is no more questions from both countries.
Thank you very much, Ecuador. I will now get to see if there are any requests for the floor for any more questions. So since there's no more requests for the floor, I would like to thank you, delegates, for the questions, and thank you, Ecuador, to you and the team for your answers. Please join me in a round of applause for the excellent presentation. I would now like to invite Niger, who's joined remotely today due to national circumstances, to make a short statement. It will be delivered by Colonel Yakuba Magagi, Executive Secretary of the National Council for Environment and Sustainable Development of Niger. Colonel Yakuba Magagi, you have the floor. Please unmute your microphone and turn on the camera if feasible.
Hello, everybody. I hope you can hear me.
We can hear you very clearly, and we can see you as well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And thank you to everybody to allow us from Niger to talk to you and present the situation of Niger Republic as far as the BUR is concerned. So I wish just to have an introductory statement before probably any other questions that the assistant can ask. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the government of Niger Republic, I'm really honored to participate in this 20th session of the facilitative sharing of views dedicated to the consideration of BUR, that is the biennial update report. As at the outset, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to the UN FCCC Secretariat, to the technical experts and all the parties for their support throughout the process. And I wish to contribute which this support has contributed to strengthen transparency and mutual trust in the implementation of the convention. As you may know, Niger considers the transparency process to be a fundamental component of climate action. Despite the institutional, technical, and financial challenges facing our country, we remain committed in improving the quality of our climate-related monitoring, reported, and verification systems. Our BUR highlights progress achieved in several areas. It presents the national greenhouse gas inventory for the 2019 year of reference, which estimates a total net of emission of 40,669.03 giga carbon equivalent. The agriculture, forestry, and other land use sector remain the largest contributor to national emissions, followed by energy, waste, and industrial processes and product use sectors. The report also presents mitigation actions implemented under our national development policies and our nationally determined contribution. Key initiatives include the Kandaji program, afforestation and reforestation programs, waste management actions, and projects aimed at reducing the carbon intensity of cement production. Furthermore, Niger has achieved an important milestone through the establishment of its national measurement, reporting, and verification system, that's the MRV, formally adopted by a decree of the Prime Minister in April 2023. This framework strengthens interinstitutional coordination and supports the continuous improvement of climate data quality. We would also like to acknowledge the valuable support received from technical and financial partners, including Global Environment Facility, the Green Climate Fund, and other departmental partners. This assistance remains essential for enabling Niger to advance its mitigation, adaptation, and transparency efforts. In addition, the portion Article 13 of the Paris Agreement, Niger has successfully submitted its first biennial transparency report in March 2025, and it is currently preparing its second BTR. So these achievements demonstrate our strong commitment to the implementation of the enhanced transparency framework. Mr. Chairman, distinguished delegates, as Niger is participating remotely in this session, we are pleased to share our experience virtually and remain fully available to engage in the discussion and respond to any question regarding our BUR and broader climate transparency efforts. So I will wait from here. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you, Niger. I would now like to invite the Secretariat to broadcast the pre-recorded presentation from Niger, which is also delivered by Colonel Yakuba Magagi. Secretariat, please play the video.
Hello, everybody. My name is Colonel Magaji Yakuba, the Executive Secretary of National Council for Environment and Sustainable Development here in Niger. It's an institution under the Prime Minister Capital and under the Office of the Prime Minister. I am also the national focal point of UNFCCC here in Niger. Okay, the outline of my presentation is really related to the summary of BUR and recent developments since the BUR submission by the Niger. And the content here is we shall present the national context of the BUR, but also the GHSG inventory, the mitigation actions and effects. We shall present also the barriers and support needed and also the support received, but also the ETF transition and implementation here in Niger. The national contest, as I said earlier, is constituted of 3 main points. That is the institutional arrangement, the domestic MRV, and the improvement in the reporting on institutional arrangement and domestic MRV. When talking of institutional arrangement, I want to say here that the BUR process was coordinated by the Executive Secretary of National Council of Environment and Sustainable Development, and which this office serves generally as the national focal point of UNFCCC in collaboration with other relevant sectors and ministries, including those responsible of agriculture, livestock, energy, mines, petroleum industry, transport, and finance and environment. As far as the domestic MRV is concerned, it is a part of BUR process, and Niger has proposed a national MRV system to organize the tracking of climate actions. So this system is now officially established by a decree of the Prime Minister. You can read the decree here. It's the decree number 60 / Prime Minister of April 14, 2023. So it takes into consideration 3 main parts in this. That is the first, the MRV and greenhouse gas emission, the MRV of mitigation and adaptation actions, And lastly, the MRV of international support, such as finance and technology. The system is led by a national coordinator and managed by the executive secretary of CNEDD, which also acts as the Niger's national focal points, as I said. Then, when talking of the improvement in the reporting on institutional arrangement, you can you are aware that Niger has improved its communication on its institutional arrangement and national MRV system through the clarification of roles and responsibilities of actors, with a view, with an angle of ensuring greater transparency and effective coordination of the implementation of enhanced transparency framework. Then the next point is the greenhouse gas inventory. This shows that the total net national greenhouse gas emission for the reference for the 2019 year of reference are estimated as 4669 giga CO2 equivalent to 2.22 tons of COD per capita. So the AFAD sector, that is agriculture, forestry, and other land use, contributes to 83.2% of the total emission, followed by the energy sector with 9.9%, waste with 4.2%, and IPPU, that is industrial process and product use, with 2.7%. You can see it on the chart here on this table. Then the next point is the mitigation actions and effects. Here we are going to talk about the national context for the mitigation actions, including NAMA or NDC, legal frameworks, plan, policies, and strategy. Niger has defined its climate commitment in its updated NDC, with emissions reduction target of 22.75% in the AFOLU sector and 48% in the energy sector by 2030. These actions are supported by national strategic framework such as the PDES 2022-2026 and the SDDCI Niger 2035, as well as sectorial policies. The country has also integrated measures from its NAMA into national planning and is establishing an MRV system to ensure transparency and effective monitoring of mitigation efforts. As far as the mitigation actions are concerned, you can see the table below that includes the programs or projects, the sectors, and the estimated outcomes. Let us take the example of Kandaji program. That is the Kandaji program is related to the energy sector, and then the estimated outcomes here is the reduction of carbon emission related to the electricity generation by 1 872.54 kilotera, if I can, per year, but going to 2035. That is the equivalent of 7.416 tons COD equivalent. Then the afforestation or reforestation program, that is reforestation intensification program, that's related to AFOLU sector. The estimated outcome here is the program will allow the sequestration of 6.002 kilotons of carbon by coming 2035. The next program is the waste management program through the construction of an incineration plant. That is the waste sector. And the outcomes here is the implementation of this mitigation measure will reduce the greenhouse gas emission by 2035 of 1.837 kilotons of carbon. That's compared to the reference year of 2016. Then the last program is low-linked cement production project. Excuse me, by adding cementitious materials. That's the sector. The sector here is IPPU. And the estimated outcomes here is the reduction of around 470.59 kilotons of carbon for an annual production of 1.5 tons of cement per day. That is enabling a reduction of 11.162 tons of clinker per year. Now we are going to present the support received and even the support needed. That is about the finance, technology, capacity building. As you can see here, for the preparation and the implementation of the BUR, the country received a total amount of 556 USD, which is coming from Jeff with an amount of 352,000, and then from Belgium, that is 174,000 USD. For the establishment of the National Greenhouse Gas Inventory System, and 40,000 USD as in-kind contribution from the state. So regarding the amount mobilized for climate change related activities mentioned in the BUR, it amounts to it can go to 6,122,282 USD as a source from the Green Climate Fund. That one is considered to 5,997,282, and the Global Environment Facility, that's 10,125,000. With regard to support for the implementation of environmental agreements, the information reported in the BUR indicated that indicates that as of July 15, 2023, 2022, Niger has received grants from the GEF, that's the Global Environment Facility, to finance 31 national projects, 31 national projects and 59 regional or international projects for a total amount of 547.351 million. Now you have the ETF transition and implementation. So as part of the implementation of Article 13 of the Paris Agreement related to the enhanced transparency framework, Niger has already taken a major step by submitting its first biennial transparency report as BTR in March 2025. This initial submission demonstrates the country's commitment to strengthen climate transparency and complying with the requirements of new multilateral framework. So to build on these efforts and further improve the quality of future reports, Niger is currently benefiting from 2 support projects. Those projects are the BTR2/5NC/BTR3 which supports the preparation of the second BTRs, as well as the 5th national communication, and the CBIT Niger project, funded through the Capacity Building Initiative for Transparency, BT, aimed at strengthening the national systems and institutional capacities for the measurement, reporting, and verification of the climate actions. Thank you very much.
Thanks to Niger for the presentation. Now I would like to open the floor for questions from parties. Similar to what we did earlier, I will collect a number of questions from parties before inviting the delegate from Niger to respond remotely. To ensure effective time management of this session, please be brief with your questions and answers. And now the floor is open. I would like to give the floor to the EU. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, delegates. Bonjour à nos amis au Niger. In your BUR, you mentioned solar microgrids being deployed. Could you give us an update on the current deployment rate, the priority of areas, and how these are contributing to your wider renewable energy targets? Thank you.
Thanks to the EU. I'll now maybe collect 2 more questions and we'll go back to the Nigers. So next is New Zealand. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Congratulations to Niger on submitting your first BUR. In your BUR, you describe some mitigation policies in the agriculture sector. Could you share any challenges or lessons learned related to mitigation in the agriculture sector? In particular, we would be interested to hear about any challenges in reporting mitigation actions from agriculture or in implementing policies at the farm level and encouraging uptake by farmers. Thank you.
Thank you, New Zealand. And now I'll give the floor to Canada. You have the floor.
Thank you, and congratulations to Niger on your first BUR as well as your first BTR. Our question is about your MRV system that you highlighted. Can you give us some concrete examples of how the MRV system has helped with institutional coordination and perhaps how evidence-based policy development? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Canada. With this, maybe I'll just, I see also one request also for additional questions, so I'll give the floor to the UK.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Niger, for your presentation. In your presentation, you mentioned the Kandaji hydroelectric dam and project, which will bring many benefits to the surrounding area. Can you share how the dam will impact the local communities and how have you ensured that they're buy-in? Thank you.
Thank you very much, the UK. At this point, I will go back to the Niger, joining us remotely. Colonel, are you with us?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chia. Thank you for the colleagues for the questions. Is that you can understand that my English is not too fluent like that, but I will just try to answer to some of the questions that I have registered and understood. If not, I will ask the Mr. Chairman to please collect for us all the questions, the fully questions, so that we can, apart from answering now, directly answer to it very well and send it quickly to the assistants, even if it is in some few minutes. Because I'm sure that we were not able to record the full questions of some of our colleagues, especially my friend from Canada. And then I know that I can say as for the MRV system and the institutional arrangement. Then the first question is the priority areas. Is that so? And this is one of the priority, the major one, the most important, in fact, is the renewable energy sector. So those are, and from the order, can you spell it, please, in French? Okay, we have another, that is the national adaptation plan, that is PNA in French. And then the third sector is the what? Okay, and the third one is the sustainable management of lands. So those are three major priority areas that we are gradually looking into. Then I don't know if I have fully answered to it. The second question is related to the mitigation strategy. So I think we have to write it fully and answer to the assistants. So I'm really asking, very sorry for the assistant. Can you please send us the fully questions so that we can answer to it directly? We did not register it. So merci beaucoup, merci Monsieur le Président pour les questions. Là, je mets ça en français. Désolé, nous n'avons pas pu enregistrer entièrement les questions des participants, mais si cela est possible, on peut rapidement nous les envoyer et répondre directement en sorte que ça ne va pas tarder. Donc, voilà un peu. Mais je sais que nous avons répondu sur les questions prioritaires. Ça, c'était l'énergie renouvelable. C'était également notre plan d'action national d'adaptation, mais c'est également notre le système de gestion durable des terres. Donc, voilà. Hein? Et sur la coordination du institutional arrangement, I said it in the presentation, is the CNDD, that is the National Council for Environment and Sustainable Development, that is in charge of the coordination of this MRV system, and together with the other ministries, with the other sectors. Then we just to really make it legal. There is a decree, a decision of the Prime Minister that really legalized it with a decree in 2023. Yes. Yes, and the inverteries, that is GHG inverteries, is taken institutionalized in that in that legal framework that the Prime Minister has taken in his office. So this is the institutional arrangement. Yeah. I think it's okay. I will stop from this. Waiting for your questions. Quickly, I can answer it in written way. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Colonel Yakuba. So what we'll do is I'll be asking the Secretariat to share with you after the session all the questions that have been posed by the delegates in the room, and once we receive the answer, we will post these answers on the webpage, if that's okay, everyone. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I would like to thank you, everyone, for the questions that you've raised, and as we just agreed, we will collect these questions and we'll resend them, and Niger will be attending back to them and will provide us with the answers, which will be posted on the website. And at this point, please join me also in a round of applause for Niger for completing the FSV. I would now like to invite Seychelles to make a short statement. It will be delivered by Mr. Wills Agricole, UNFCCC National Focal Point for Seychelles. Mr. Agricole, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Distinguished Chair, distinguished colleagues, delegates, good afternoon. On behalf of the Republic of Seychelles, I and my two technical experts on my right are honored to participate in the 20th Facilitated Sharing of Views workshop under the International Consultation Analysis process. Seychelles welcome this important platform for transparency, mutual learning, and constructive dialogue among parties. We value the opportunity to present the work undertaken in preparing and submitting our first biennial update report, which was submitted on 24th February 2024, which reflects our continued commitment to the objectives and principles of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. As a small island developing states, Seychelles remain highly vulnerable to the adverse impact of climate change, including sea level rise, coastal erosion, ocean warming, and extreme weather events. Despite our limited national circumstances and capacities, we remain steadfast in advancing climate action and strengthening resilience across all sectors of our economy. Our first biennial update report represents a significant milestone in our national transparency framework. Through this process, Seychelles has strengthened institutional coordination, improved national greenhouse gas inventory systems, and enhanced data collection and reporting capacities. The BER also provides an overview of mitigation action undertaken nationally, particularly in the energy, waste, transport, and land use sectors, as well as the support received and further support needed to implement our climate priorities. Importantly, the preparation of the BER has reinforced national ownership of climate reporting processes and contribute to greater interagency collaboration and technical capacity building. It has also highlighted areas when additional financial, technological, and capacity building support remains essential for small island developing states such as Seychelles. Seychelles remains committed to contributing to global climate efforts while pursuing sustainable, climate-resilient development pathways that safeguard our people ecosystem and future generation. We thank the UNFCCC Secretariat, the consultative group of experts, and our development partners for their continued support throughout this process. We look forward to the constructive exchange during this workshop and to learning from the experience of fellow parties. I thank you.
Thank you, Seychelles. I would now like to invite the Secretariat to broadcast the pre-recorded presentations from Seychelles, which will be delivered by Dr. Barry Daniel Norris, AFOLU sector expert, as well as Mr. Shields Berra, waste sector expert, Government of Seychelles. Secretariat, if you can please play the video.
Good day, everyone. It gives a great pleasure to present the facilitative sharing of views on behalf of the Seychelles Island. My name is Barry Norris. I am the AFOLU sector expert in the Seychelles, and I've been working on the forward national communication. I've been giving some support also prior to that to the TNC and the BER1 and the BTR1 for the Seychelles. For this presentation, I've been given the support by Mr. Shields Berra, who's also the waste sector expert for the BTR1 and the BER1. For this presentation, we're going to be looking at the national context and national arrangements, GSG inventory overview and emission trends, mitigation action and the effects, support, receive, constraint and needs, and the ETF transition and the BTR preparation. Now, note that the last point is already an ongoing activity. Seychelles has already undergone its BTR1 process, and we are now engaged in the BTR2 process. With regard to the national context, Seychelles is part of the SEEDS countries, small island developing states, and the Seychelles consists of 115 islands with an exclusive economic zone of 1.4 million square kilometer, or more precisely 1.374 million square kilometer. When it comes to the land cover of the island of the Seychelles, it's only 455 square kilometer. To put it into context, we are smaller than Mauritius by 2 times. So the economy of the country is highly dependent on tourism when it comes to foreign exchange incomes, and followed by the fishery sector. And this is supported by a highly climate sensitive sector, or highly dependent sector on fossil fuel to power the economy. The first BUR was coordinated by the Ministry of Agriculture, Climate Change and Environment with the support of multiple national institutions and a whole group of consultants, of which I'm one of them. Now, the institutional arrangement for the MRV system has been strengthened, but however, there's still limitation, especially because a lot of the work are being done by consultant, and therefore it limits the capacity for a comprehensive institutional arrangement when it comes to the MRV. But thankfully, the way the Ministry of Climate Change, the Department of Climate Change in the Seychelles has been engaging with the private stakeholder consultant, we have developed a mechanism around which GSG inventory are prepared effectively and in time, and the tracking is being done. But however, there's a need for a proper institutional arrangement to support the MRV system. Seychelles continue to strengthen its national climate governance to the various international engagement, data management, and reporting system. As for the GSG inventory under the BUR1, it is to be noted that the emission for Seychelles in 2020 were estimated to be at 558.60 gigagram of CO2 equivalent, with the bulk of it coming from the energy sector. As stated before, Seychelles' energy sector is heavily reliant on fossil fuel for the generation of energy, and the transport sector also is predominantly based on fossil fuel. A lot of efforts are now on the way to decarbonize the transport sector, and this, especially electric vehicle, is something that has been very much embraced by the country. So effort is on the way. As for other sector, the Afro sector contributes to 13%, West sector 3%, 8%, sorry, and the Igbo sector 2% of national emission. Total emission increased significantly between 2000 and 2020, particularly because Seychelles, during that period of time, there's been a lot of effort to develop our economy and to bring in more businesses and to ensure that we support the economic backbone of the nation, which is the fisheries sector and the tourism sector. And of course, to do that, we need to improve the transport sector, etc., to make sure that this economy is being supported. And in doing so, we see a large increase in the emission between 2000 and 2020. However, there is a temporary decline in 2019 compared to 2020. That is mostly related to COVID-19 that played a role in shutting down of the economy and thus preventing the country economy to progress. So therefore, that resulted in a decline in emission. Now, when it comes to mitigation actions and its effect, Seychelles has committed under its updated NDC to reduce economy-wide GHG emission by 26.4% below business as usual by 2030. Further to this, consideration has been taken under the NDC to achieve a decarbonized net zero emission economy by 2050. Now, the above can only be achieved because the country has made significant effort to ensure that national climate policy and national legislation are in place. Effort continues to ensure continuity and also to ensure that countrywide engagement are in place to meet this commitment. Now, when it comes to support received and support needed, Seychelles has received technical and financial support from various organizations. Some of these organizations are the GEF, UNEP, UNDP, the World Bank, EU, IRENA, and other development partners, especially through the mechanism of bilateral cooperation. Continued support is highly required for institutional strengthening, technology transfer, and technical capacity development. For a small country like the Seychelles, we cannot fulfill this commitment on our own. Our continuous engagement with our various partners are highly important and is highly valued by the government of Seychelles. There are some areas, however, that prioritization is highly required. Particularly here, we are referring to the MRV system improvement, strengthening, improvement in the data collection, particularly when we look at the LULUCF sector. The LULUCF sector for Seychelles is one area where there's a lack of development and there has been a lack of focus. That is because there has been no forest survey or forest assessment done in the country that will indicate exactly what is the contribution of our vast forest cover in GHG removal. Therefore, support for the LULUCF sector is something we are advocating and something we are really pushing in the coming years to ensure that our future BTR are done based on complete, comprehensive data to ensure that the Seychelles NDC is achievable. Overall, Seychelles remain highly vulnerable to external shock. That is because the country relies heavily on fossil fuel and also because most of our essential services are found on the coast, and therefore we are highly vulnerable to sea level rise as a result of climate change. ETF transition and implementation are already ongoing in the Seychelles. By completing our first BTR, the BTR1, and now engaging in the BTR2, we have to state that, yes, we have received quite a good number of capacity building and training. But however, this must be a continuous effort. There's a need for us to continue to improve our QA/QC procedures, data archiving, and institutional continuity. Greater stakeholder engagement is required if we're going to ensure continuity, and therefore there's a need for sectorial coordination and technical training, and that needs to be supported by institutions in the Seychelles, such as the University of Seychelles and other professional centers offering training to graduates. And this will help to ensure that the country guarantees continuity as we continue in the process of achieving our NDC commitment. With that, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank you for your attention, and I believe that our presentation have enlightened you about the challenges that we face and some of the success story that we are experiencing in the Seychelles. At this junction, I would like to thank you once again, and also invite you to join us in celebrating our Golden Jubilee as Seychelles celebrates 50 years since its independence. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to Seychelles, and definitely also congratulations are in order as well. Now I would like to open the floor for questions from parties. I will collect a number of questions similar to what we did earlier, and then we'll invite the delegate from Seychelles to respond. So with that, the floor is open. I would like now to give the floor to Czechia. Czechia, you have the floor.
First of all, I would like to congratulate you to your first BUR and also to the first BTR, as you mentioned in the presentation. And my question is, Seychelles cooperated with various support providers to prepare its BUR. What was your experience in these cooperations, and how did you ensure coordination between the various support providers?
Thank you very much, Czechia. Now I would like to give the floor to South Africa. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chairperson. I would firstly like to thank Seychelles for submitting their BUR and also the BTR. So we note that the BUR identified electricity, power generation, and the road transport as the main drivers of the emission growth in the energy sector, while also increasing clearing of forest areas for infrastructure and development that contributes to emission trends in the Afolu sector. So could Seychelles kindly provide further information on any policies and programs or initiatives that are being implemented or considered to address these sectors? And we also note the information provided on the climate change action and support that is received. In this regard, we will be interested to learn more about Seychelles' experience in tracking and reporting climate finance. So we will be interested to hear about the challenges that they've encountered and how those challenges have strengthened coordination among relevant institutions and stakeholders, and also improving the climate finance reporting and for transparency activities. Thank you.
Thank you, South Africa. I'll take one more question, then we'll go back to Seychelles, and we'll return back for further questions from the delegates. So now I would like to give the floor to Ireland. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, and congratulations, Seychelles, for your BUR submission, as well as your first BTR. So my question is about your MRV system. So you have indicated that you're considering an archiving system to strengthen the MRV system. Could you elaborate on the progress that has been made in establishing such a system, and what are the remaining challenges? Thank you.
Thank you to Ireland. At this point, I'll go back to the distinguished delegates from Seychelles to address your questions. Seychelles, you have the floor.
Thank you. I'll invite my two experts to respond to the question. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Barry Norris once again. Thank you for the question. First, I would like to do my best to answer for Czechia. regards to the funding support that we have received and how we manage to coordinate funding. Normally, all funding that we receive from various organizations in the Seychelles goes through the respective ministry that coordinates the BUR in the country. And we have a central financial system in the Seychelles where all funding that is received goes through the Ministry of Finance, and then when it is needed, it actually then is used for the purpose which is designated for. There are other organizations such as the UNDP, the EU, where similar system is used to govern the finances. So this is mostly how it is coordinated. And yes, we kind of have an approach in Seychelles where we have a lot of funding organizations that are very much willing to work with us, primarily because of the delivery on the various projects that we do. So that kind of create that environment where donors are happy to come back and to give the support. So I hope I answered the question. Okay. For South Africa, thank you for the question. I think you mentioned something with regards to forest clearing as we hope to develop this infrastructure. In Seychelles, it's very much different. We don't necessarily clear forest to actually build infrastructure. What we do, we claim from the sea to build infrastructure. So our situation is very much different. And by doing so, we do have an impact on the ecosystem, obviously. Our seagrass, meadows, and some of the coastal habitat do get affected. We take note of that. But when it comes to the forest itself, we do not touch the forest. That is because nearly 70%, if not more, of the Seychelles forest is protected. So we cannot go into it. So legislation makes it very easy for the government to manage this. And this is one of the challenges we have. Each time we do the reporting and we state this fact, we get a lot of questions coming from the reviewer asking us about the forest issue. So yes, we don't clear forest, we rather reclaim land for such development. And in terms of climate financing, improvement on climate financing report, I'm not in the capacity to answer the question. I will see if my colleague from South Africa can put the question in writing for us to help us, and I will post that to my colleague when I get back to the Seychelles, or I can send it by email and have an answer as soon as possible. Okay, archiving system. Yes, how this will help, obviously, because first of all, we do have an MRV system that has been designed and it is operational. The challenge we have in Seychelles is when it comes to the ownership or having the people to run the MRV system. As you will realize, we are a very small country, and the pool of experts and the pool of people we need to engage in such activity is very limited. 2 months ago, I think we have a training to try and engage more expert, local technician to get involved in the process, and we are hopeful that eventually we will have people and also the custodian to host the MRV and make it fully operational. So how we operate in the meantime, how do we overcome these challenges is we work very closely with consultants. And the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change have developed this kind of working mechanism where we keep the consultant very close and we work with them very closely and we engage them in processes so that the consultant continue to contribute to the process of the BTR, and now we are running the BTR2 with almost a group of consultants, almost nearly 100%, if I'm not mistaken. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the Seychelles. You may continue.
Excuse me, if I just may add to the question from South Africa. I think you also touched on policies that we had in place. And one key policy that we have had was removal of taxes and levies that we had on importation of vehicles, and that basically fueled the growth of the purchase of EVs in the Seychelles. Initially the target was not climate change. It was one of our islands, which before people used to just ride bicycles, and then they wanted to move into motor vehicles, and the government did not want to pollute this island, so there was a policy that was put forth to reduce the taxes on to reduce tax on EV from there's a 50% tax on 50% excise tax. That's normally on vehicles. We dropped it to 10% on EV, and but it applied countrywide. And then gradually there's environmental levy that we also have on vehicles that was dropped. There's customs duty that's also been waived. And it has got to a point whereby internal combustion vehicles and EV has almost reached parity. So that has fueled the increase in the uptake of electric vehicles. We do have a policy to get to 100% public electric buses within our public transport. And then we've also got policies with respect to increasing the share of renewable energy to the grid. And so these are some of the details that along which we're moving. I wanted also to touch on some of the needs. I think Dr. Nois touched that in terms of capacity building. We have done great with the capacity building we've received, whereby we've reached a stage whereby we've got growth local consultants, including myself and Dr. Nois, who are able to generate BUR and BTR reports. But we need to go to the next level. And the current structure of capacity building doesn't really move you from merely writing reports to improving the quality of the inventories. We need to shift and get to tier 2 level with our key categories. And Dr. Nois mentioned that in terms of the forest inventory, but that extends to almost all the sectors whereby we need to be able to generate country-specific emission factors. So I think this is a real need for us to move to merely writing report to being able to have better quality inventory behind these reports. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Seychelles. I just wanted also to note that there were some comments in the chat from the expert from the Seychelles. Would you like to give them the floor or elaborate on them, or? Yeah. Please, you have the floor.
I just need to confirm who is online, because we got the information quite late that they were joining in. I believe it's Mr. Anju, shall we? Yes. Anju, please proceed. You have the floor.
Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good evening. Sorry, I just put some. My name is Andrew Joly, and I was part of the team for the BUR and the BTR1. I just put some comments in the chat related to the questions from the South Africa delegate, I think, about the clearing of forests for infrastructure, as reported in the BUR and the BTRs. Usually, this is just only where a house or a building is to be built or a road is to be built. If there are trees in the way, then that can be cleared. Usually, planning authority has a strict guideline on that. Is only where the house is going to be built that the trees can be cut down. It's like I think it's like 30% of the area of the area of the plot to be developed. So it's not really clearing of forest. It's just cutting a tree down or a couple of trees down to put the house. That's why for the LULUCF sector, you see a slight decline, and that's where the decline of the forest area comes from, is from these trees that are cut down for where the placement of the road or the building or the house is going to be built. So as Dr. Nui said, it's very controlled kind of things that's done. And move on to the MRV, and as I said, the problem with the MRV is because it's developed under grants, and usually a grant is time-based and budget-based. So usually this is done piecemeal. We have an MRV system, but it still needs to be populated, it needs to be maintained, it needs to be updated, it needs to be, we don't have an MRV expert or data expert or other expert to collect data, process data, input data, store data. So it's still a long way to go, but there is an informal data storage that exists, and this is with the experts. This is why we've been able to successfully complete MRV, BUR and BTR1. And just jumped on to the next question, which was from the energy sector. The main policy really is looking at ways to decarbonize the economy. And as Dr. Nui said, we're still reliant on almost 99% of fossil fuel for the energy sector. So government is actively looking at ways and promoting promoting PV has been its main drive. And I think if you listen to the inauguration speech by the president now and the ministers, pushing for more PV is really where we're going. And now we're going to add looking at battery system as a storage means to extend the use of PV throughout the peak demand times. So, and I think they've already touched on the transport sector. So this was basically my input. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to Seychelles. If you'd allow me now, I'm gonna go and get maybe a few more questions, and we'll go back to you. So with that, we'll go next to Netherlands. You have the floor.
Thank you so much, Chair, and congratulations, Seychelles, for submitting your first BOR. But I also noticed you've been very busy in also submitting your first BTR and fourth NC quite recently as well, which is quite an impressive accomplishment. I have two questions, if permitted. You have indicated that the preparation of the BOR has helped you to build national capacity and institutional collaboration. Could you elaborate on how the preparation of the BOR also helped you in preparing the first BTR and fourth national communication? And my second question is on renewable energy. Seychelles reported a share of 2.5% of renewable energy in its electricity mix as of 2018. But you also have an NDC target, or you have included a target of 15% share by 2030. Could the Seychelles perhaps give an update on the progress and what are the key enabling factors to further develop the deployment and which challenges are still remaining? Thank you.
Thank you, Netherlands. I would like to give the floor to Australia. You have the floor.
Thank you. I had a similar question about renewable energy to the Netherlands, so I think that's fine.
All right. Thank you very much, Australia. Now we'll move to give the floor to the EU. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Congratulations to our colleague from Seychelles for the BUR, but also for already moving on to the biannual transparency report. During your presentation today, you mentioned several times difficulties with your institutional arrangements. Could you tell us a bit about the measures that you have planned to strengthen them? Thank you.
Thank you very much to the EU. At this point, I'll go back to our distinguished delegates. If you can kindly address these questions. You have the floor.
Okay, thank you once again to our colleagues, and thank you for the question. I'll take the first two questions from our colleague from the Netherlands, and eventually I believe my colleague online will be able to contribute, and Shell's next to me will be able to add to it. When it comes to the, you asked us to elaborate on how the BUR help us to more or less transition to the BTR1. As I mentioned before, because the same people who are involved with, since the TNC, in my case, are the same experts who are actually involved with the BTR process, the BUR and other BTR process, it makes it easy for us to transition. So that's how we manage to do it. It's difficult for us really to explain it as to how it's done, because for us it was more like a continuation of what we did in the BUR and then moving on to applying the transparency process under the Paris Agreement. So that was more or less an easy process for us. So that would be my answer, my short answer to this first question. And the second one is, in terms of progress in the decarbonization of the energy sector, more into renewable energy, I think I will, with your permission, Mr. Chair, I will ask Mr. Jean-Louis, who's online, who has been more or less involved with the sector, to provide an answer to this question.
Please, you may proceed online.
Yeah, sorry. Can you just repeat that question with regard to the renewable energy part, please, from the Netherlands? Thank you.
Of course. Netherlands, can you kindly repeat the question?
No, of course. It was about the progress on the share of renewable energy in your electricity production. You reported a share in 2018 of 2.5%, while you aim at a share of 15%. So could you update on the progress and indicate what challenges still remain? Thank you.
Thank you, Netherlands. Back to you, Jean-Louis.
Thank you very much for that question. Yeah. Basically, I just wanted to make sure I got the question right. So basically, the main challenge really for us is, I think we highlighted that in our previous reports, is we don't really have much in terms of natural resources. We have very limited wind. I mean, we have a wind project, which is about 8 megawatts, but we're really restricted to about 3 months of wind. Other technologies like ocean thermal, like hydro, hydro, biomass is very limited in Seychelles. So we're really stuck with PV. PV is kind of the only available resource that makes financial, economic, and technical sense right now. I mean, PV has been growing quite rapidly. The amount of installation per year is, I can't remember on top of my head right now, but it's significant. But the energy demand is growing even faster because Seychelles relies on tourism as its main economic driver. The tourism, I mean, if you look at tourism arrival pre-COVID, was almost 500,000, which is over 5 times the population of Seychelles. So in a lot of the hotels are 5-star resorts with a lot of air conditioning consumption. So they basically negate the impact of the growing PV. So government has been working as a lot to improve the situation. For example, the utility has completed the upgrade of what we call the high voltage network in Seychelles, which is the 33 kV. So now the whole of Mahi, the main island, is connected via a 33 kV network, and the whole of Praia and La Dega connected via an 11 kV network. And transformers have been updated. All the single phase lines at the low voltage sector has been upgraded to 3-phase lines, which means that more PV can be injected at the household level and at the commercial level. The government has now recently, I think it's going to go to cabinet next week. They've completed the integrated resource plan for accelerating the renewable energy program. We have a program with the World Bank where the further increase in the low voltage line network is going to happen. We are looking at, as I said before in my intervention, looking at battery storage, because as you know, PV has very limited penetration into the grid because of it can cause instability if it's injected at a fast rate and at a high rate. So government now is looking at maybe using more battery storage to increase the amount of PV. So these are the things that government is actively doing. In fact, next week we're also going to cabinet with a paper looking at new regulation for battery connected system to the grid so that we can accelerate the PV and battery into the grid. I mean, there's other things that will come online, but on top of my head right now, this is where we're going right now. Thank you.
Please.
If I may add to that, to respond to the question from Netherlands and backed by Australia. In terms of how we're progressing, I just want to note that we're talking about BUR, but noting that we've already done BTR1 and we're doing BTR2. And one of the indicators for in Chapter 2 of the BTR for tracking progress with implementation of the NDC commitments is the percentage contribution of renewable energy towards total electricity generation mix. And in that report, we do have exactly that data that is being requested. We are using the same indicator for in BTR2. So right now, I was trying to quickly go through BTR1 to try and find the numbers, but it's a little bit hard because I'm also listening, but we've got that number and you can provide it. But as a waste sector expert, one of the things that I also want to mention whenever we start talking about renewable energy is an emerging issue that the country would need to deal with and find solutions very fast. And that's how to deal with the lithium-ion battery waste that's generated. And further down the line, how to deal with the waste, the PV systems when they become waste in the future. So we are solving one problem, and at the same time we are creating another problem. And so I think we have to look at these two things together. Yes, we're doing one thing to solve one problem, but at the same time we're a small country, and we create another problem that these two needs to go hand in hand.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just before I go to the next question, also just to note that Seychelles, we are very progressive when it comes to the energy sector and finding solution to our current and future problem. One of the discussion that is going on at the moment is how can we start the discussion on SMR, small modular nuclear reactor. So that's something that is a discussion that's going to start soon in the country, as this has been included in the country program framework with the International Atomic Energy Agency. And this is something that we want to start looking into, because that will therefore become, if it works, if it's feasible for the Seychelles, it could become an important substitution for clean energy, despite not renewable, but at least on the clean side is something that we are looking into. So this is a discussion that is going to start also in the country. With regards to the question from our colleagues from the EU, EU, thank you. By the way, I have to say thank you to the European Union for all the support they have provided the Seychelles. We are very grateful for continuous engagement with the Seychelles in the various sectors, especially in the fisheries sector, where a lot is being done, and recently also in the energy sector. The question was most about the difficulties in us setting up our institutional arrangement. It is not that infrastructure-wise we can do it. The problem is the limited capacity we have in terms of human capacity, people to deliver on the work that is required. Just to give you an example, you have in the room today the only expert in Seychelles on soil in the whole country. And you have probably only 2 or 3 experts in Seychelles on waste management are in the room. So if we were to leave and on methodological work, so we have that kind of limitation. So it's something that we need to further look into as to how we involve. That's why in my presentation I mentioned the coordination with national academic institution, the University of Seychelles, where we're training people. We need to take into consideration priority, country priority, and then make that something that was actually help the country to actually raise the kind of human capacity that we need. Okay, we have enough lawyers, we have enough, no. So let's get some scientists on board. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Seychelles. I'm gonna go back to see if there are any requests for the floor. I see no more requests for any more questions from the floor, so I'd like to thank you, delegates, for the questions, and also thank our distinguished delegates from the Seychelles for your answers, and invite you all to please join me in a round of applause for the excellent presentation of the Seychelles. So congratulations. And so, delegates and colleagues, today we have heard three parties, Ecuador, Niger, and Seychelles. I would like to extend my thanks and congratulate you all for actively engaging in this very fruitful and positive discussion. This type of interaction embodies the true spirit and principles of the ICA process. I'm sure we all have benefited from today's meeting. With Seychelles, we completed the list of the 3 parties undergoing the FSV for the session of the subsidiary bodies. I thank the 3 parties that underwent the FSV and all participants. I now would like to move to the closing of the FSV. Due to a conflict of schedule, I will be closing on behalf of the SBI Chair, Ms. Julia Gardner. So, with the closing, distinguished delegates and colleagues, as we conclude the 20th workshop of the Facilitative Sharing of Views, FSV, I wish to express my genuine appreciation to the three presenting parties, Ecuador, Niger, and Seychelles, for their active participation and for the openness with which they have engaged today. The session we heard this afternoon offered a rich and diverse picture of national climate action across different contexts, different sectors, and different levels of capacity. These parties have demonstrated a shared commitment to transparency, to reporting what they have done, explaining how they are progressing, and being willing to engage with questions from their peers. That willingness is what gives this process its credibility and its value. The exchanges today have contributed to our collective understanding of progress under the Convention, and they will feed into the ongoing evolution of the transparency system. In particular, the experiences gained here continue to lay important groundwork for the transition to or continued engagement with the enhanced transparency framework under the Paris Agreement. The FSV's legacy is carried forward through the Facilitative Multilateral Consideration of Progress, FMCP. And we look forward to seeing many of these parties continue that journey. I would note that the third FMCP working group session, which opened yesterday, continues this week at SP 64, with the closing session on Saturday, the 13th of June. I encourage all delegates to engage with that process as well. Let me close by once again congratulating all the three parties for reaching this milestone and for the example they continue to set. Your efforts strengthen the global transparency system and advance our shared ability to deliver on the goals of the Paris Agreement. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I now declare the 20th workshop of the FCV closed. Thank you.